Thank you, Kirby. Thank you so much. I do have teleprompters that aren't working, but I can wing it. Yeah, I see those, but my teleprompters aren't working, guys. Seriously. So I do have two. Last year I had one, and I was right here the whole time reading it. So I was like, hey, can we put one here and then one here? And I go back and forth. I will say thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event in this wonderful space. I do love this space. I love the Stanley, but I love this one because look at all these visuals, and we have visuals today for you. I do want to say thank you to St. Luke's for sponsoring. St. Luke's is an anchor in this healthcare hub of Lee Summit. We are known for healthcare, and they're expanding. They keep reinvesting in our community, and that's a lot of what my speech is about today. I'll go to my notes. I still, we don't trust, do we? So I will say to the council members, thank you for your service and for the talents that you bring to our team. Thank you sincerely to our elected officials here that have honored us with their attendance today. There's times that we have to stick together. We have to come together and maybe fight a landfill at the doorsteps of our communities. And we need a united voice. Thank you, Sean Smith. And there's times we need a united voice with other jurisdictions. We go to the state together. We're sister cities. We have borders that touch each other, and it shouldn't feel different from one city to the next city whenever you're driving along the road. So I'm very blessed to have great relationships with our city. Has great relationships with our other elected officials and other jurisdictions. A special thank you to the school board members. I don't think Erica was here, but I do know Dr. Buck made it today. Thank you, sir. You guys are working so hard, diligently on providing the highest quality of education for our students, and I'm very proud of the schools. In fact, I'm proud of all the schools. We love all our schools. We love Lee Summit R7. We love Blue Springs School District, Summit Christian Academy, St. Michael's, the Archangel, Our Lady of Presentation, Catholic School, MCC, Longview, and of course, UCM, University of Central Missouri. They are wonderful. Yep. We also love our parks. With over 1,200 acres, 30 parks, trails, splash pads, ice rinks, pickleball courts, and a water park. The City Council has had numerous opportunities. Oh, my teleprompter's working. Good. Numerous opportunities to support the parks and to add more parks with all the increased growth growing in our community, including a field house. Joe Snook is the Parks and Recreation Administrator leading the way on the expansion, and I'd like to thank Mr. Snook and the Park Board members for their leadership. So thank you. Yep. Give me my water. I also would like to say that it is a great honor to have the Truman Heartland Community Foundation's, thank you, Lee Summit Citizen of the Year here. He's over in the corner. His name is Dave Eames. Yep. Let me tell you, I said, you better be there because I'm going to talk about you. And he's here. Thank you, Ben, for dragging him here for me. So Dave Eames has been a hidden gem in our community for decades. He's quietly gone about his business passionately, volunteering on boards such as the city's Cultural Commission, the Civic Roundtable, downtown Main Street, and he's generously donated his artistic talents to our nonprofits, businesses, and city. And he has dramatically impacted the beautification of our wonderful downtown with his investments, his ideas, and his magnificent, classy, creative, and often illuminated signage. Yes, in our charming downtown. He has really changed the landscape. He adds flair to every shop he touches. And Dave has added to the quality of life in our community in so many inspirational ways. But here's what I love the most about Dave. It's that he does it for the love of community. He makes a difference anywhere he can with the tools he has in the most collaborative way possible. And then he gives everybody else the credit. And it's his exemplary behavior, his nonstop service to others, and his plethora of admired artistic contributions that make us all proud to call him one of our own. It's an absolute honor again. Dave Eames, the Truman Heartland Community Foundation, Lee Summit Citizen of the Year. Yep. Today's speech has a theme, and so I've got a video, wonderful staff, Creative Services put together for us on perspective. So many of our past successes were made possible by understanding the multitude of perspectives in our community. When we take the time to see the world through someone else's eyes, we enrich our own understanding and foster an environment where everyone can thrive. When I see the renovations we've made to our parks, I see an investment not just in essential infrastructure, but in people that builds community and directly impacts the physical and social well-being of our residents.
I see equity, inclusive playgrounds where people from all walks of life can come together.
I see a place to play.
When I see the development we have helped facilitate in our community, I see the results of solution-oriented decision-making, with job opportunities, easier access to goods and services, housing options, improved infrastructure, and increased economic growth.
I see projects created through collaboration between the city and developers that will provide value, benefit, and opportunity to the Lee Summit community.
I see growth in community and a way to connect more people to their food.
When I see the major road improvements underway, I see well-connected and safe transportation that enhances mobility and increases access to local businesses, spurring economic growth, safe deliveries to homes, and happy trips to ball games and activities.
I see improved roadways, added sidewalks, and shared use paths for pedestrians and cyclists, safe transportation and recreation for all.
I see better connectivity, increased lanes, less congestion, and just make it easier to get around.
When I see the investments we've made in public safety, I see enhanced emergency preparedness and first responders who are ready on a moment's notice to protect the community and deliver immediate life-saving care.
I see the city value its fire department employees come to fruition in recruitment, retention, and a positive culture.
I see a community that can respond to emergencies quickly. My whole family lives in Lee Summit, so there's a lot of peace of mind there.
What we do is not just about making decisions and funding budgets. It's about enriching the quality of life for all of our residents. It's about realizing that a building is not just steel and concrete, a park is not just metal and ropes, a road is not just asphalt, and a city is not just land. It's about the experiences we provide to all people of all generations and backgrounds. They did a great job on that. I loved it when I saw it, so it's fun watching it again. Love that little girl when she says that. I searched really hard and long for quotes on perspective, and I found this quote by American humorist Jack Handy. It's, before you criticize someone, walk a mile in their shoes. That way, you'll be a mile from them, and you'll have their shoes. So I told my wife, Hillary, who's over here, would you please stand for 1 second so they can see who you are, Hillary? Yeah. I told Hillary that joke last week, and she smiled just enough to humor me. And then she told me she didn't think that was a good philosophy. And that's Hillary for you. She does have a great sense of humor, but just not that kind of humor. So before I walk out the door to a council meeting, Hillary makes sure that I have the right perspective, the right attitude, the right mindset. And like most significant others, she doesn't watch the meetings, but she knows they're all important, and that it takes teamwork and collaboration, and that's paramount. She does give me a pep talk and prayers and then sends me on my way. And she does get nervous for these. Hillary gets nervous for the State of the City meetings because I don't tell them what I'm going to say about her ahead of time. And I do love telling stories about the lengths that she will go to be true to Lee Summit. She does steer clear of all the politics, the weeds of local politics. She experiences Lee Summit like most citizens do, by the moment and by the experience. For the most part, she grew up in rural Missouri and rural Nebraska, but she has been always what she calls a city girl. And she's not a city girl. She just wants to be close enough to the things that she needs and enjoys for sake of time. She wants the delight of having variety. She wants the amenities that enhance our quality of life, like our parks. She loves our parks and our schools, and she loves how safe Lee Summit feels. And she likes to take care of things, so she does not like trash on the road, and she does not like potholes to mess with her extremely well cared for car. And she really likes to shop. So she likes variety of retail shopping, but she loves local, boutique, and original. So I don't know, I feel like Hillary represents the typical Lee Summit resident. I think that, like so many citizens, it's important for us to know what our citizens feel and think and what their perspective is. And I'm fortunate to have someone as a partner that has that type of perception and perspective. But her perception, I just want to say, is tied directly to all those years in rural America. It's affected by her upbringing. Her dad's here today. It's her experiences in college, her life as a mother, her previous career as a teacher, and her last 19 years as a realtor. How she perceives something is affected by her perspective. People like to say perception is reality. And as elected officials, we have become quite adept at understanding how others perceive the world or perceive an experience, and how important it is to understand how others take in the world before them. So here's what I think about that. I think that the better that we are as elected officials at understanding how people perceive the world and seeing things from their perspective, the better we are for you as elected officials. But also, our ability to have empathy for others and their perceptions is a tremendous asset. In fact, I think it's one of the greatest abilities that someone could have. And it makes you wonder if this is a learned ability or if it's just a God-given talent. Research shows that by the time we're 25, our worldview has been set. So the only way to change that worldview is to actively seek ideas that challenge us. And it's hard work to develop perspective outside of our own perceptions. It requires an intentional approach to develop empathy for another person's point of view. And as elected officials, again, we try to be mindful of the many perspectives that we represent in the community. Council members make decisions weekly that affect citizens and stakeholders in every corner of the city, not just in our district. So it's very challenging, but we work as a team to support the city and the citizens as a whole. And this is challenging because there are always a few people lobbying us to go against the grain or simply to go against each other. And we just do our best to make decisions for the betterment of all. Making decisions based on the multitude of perspectives in our city. Making decisions for the benefit of many sometimes brings out the ire in a few. This is why a lot of people, many of you in here, say you would never run for office. You know too well that you would not either be able to empathize with other people's perspectives, or you know you would empathize far too well, and the thought of upsetting anyone with a different point of view just would not be worth the stress. So that's the burden you carry with being an elected official. But we lean on each other for support, and we share the load because the reputation of the city is in our hands. And I want to repeat that. The reputation of the city is in our hands, so we have to be able to justify our positions to the many and to the few. My fellow mayors, isn't that so true? It takes tremendous courage to make decisions that some of your community members and friends may not agree with. But true friends will still love you and support you. Take it from me, I know. I'm sure many of you do too. And your ability to see things from many perspectives and take action will earn you more advocates than you ever knew you could have. In other words, diligently and intentionally seeking to understand other perspectives and then acting on it is worth it. One person that has a great talent for understanding other people's perspectives is City Manager Mark Dunning. Where's Mark at? Here he is, up front. Yep. I get the honor of giving the State of the City speech each year, but everyone here needs to know that Mark is the CEO and the leader of the City of Lee Summit. His leadership and collaborative style has been critical in keeping Lee Summit moving forward. And I cannot understate the incredible work he's done in his first 2 years as city manager. He's the ultimate team player who keeps Lee Summit winning. And Mark empowers the city council with information. And when we as elected officials have good information with solution-oriented focus, good decisions are made. Mark grew up in a small town that grew into a large suburb called Lee Summit. When Mark was born in 1971, the population was a little over 16,000 people. He played a lot of sports growing up and had the opportunity to play rugby professionally overseas. He was recently named the #1 rugby player in the Kansas City Rugby Club's 60-year history. Is that cool or what? His career began with the city 27 years ago when he started in building inspections. Then he moved to codes department, then to development services, and finally to administration. And now as a city manager, he has quite the perspective. And he has seen and helped manage a lot of growth in Lee Summit over the years. When he graduated high school in 1989, he didn't have all the options we have now when it comes to grabbing a burger after school. He had McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger Boy, and he said, thankfully, Johnny Ray's. So I do find it comforting that the person in charge has been so involved in so many respects in economic development. And in so many ways, you know, his perspective is one that we need to all pay attention. You know what else gives you perspective when you're growing up? When you're an adult? When you're in your golden years? Your income. So if you have ever been in the unfortunate position of being broke, or if you've lost all your money, it changes the way you look at life. You realize how quickly you can lose momentum, how quickly things can spiral due to circumstances outside your control, or maybe even the dreaded self-inflicted feeling of how good you had it until you stopped doing the things that made you successful. If you manage a city like Lee Summit, that is trying to keep the best employees, trying to hire talent, but you don't have enough revenues or you have too many other expenses, it puts you under a lot of stress. You have to lean on your city council to make tough decisions, prioritize, and fight for the quality of life you want for your citizens, for your employees, and your friends and family. And it was only 7 years ago that the city was facing significant employee compensation issues. We were undermanned. We had major equipment and capital needs, and we were struggling to find a way to fill the gaps with a $67 million budget. $67 million. There was a lot of pressure and stress, and quite honestly, there was a lot of difference of opinions. When you're faced with those moments, you buckle down, you find a way to do what you need to do. So we went over every revenue stream and every expense with a fine-tooth comb. And in every way we could, we reinvested in ourselves, in our employees, and in our community. And today, we have a $97 million budget, a $30 million increase in 7 years. We also added an additional $20 million to our general reserve fund in that same amount of time. So yes, we do. We have both financial security and a great reputation as a city right now, and we need to do all our parts to keep that. We need to stay hungry, motivated, and focused to continue to be successful, because it takes a lot of time to lose it takes a lot less time to lose financial security or to lose a great reputation than it does to build it. We are certainly blessed to be Lee Summit. We didn't get here without sacrifice, strategizing, and tremendous work. I'm gonna tell you a little story. A few weeks ago, I got a call from the chamber president, Matt Baird. Yes, same last name, same family. He set a meeting with me and our city staff, many of you at the table there, with a peer city. That's all I'm gonna say, a peer city that wanted to know, none of these guys, by the way, or ladies, but that wanted to know what we were doing to be so successful in economic development and why everyone was pointing to Lee Summit as the city to emulate. And I was invited to the meeting because there were other elected officials and quite a few of their administrators were in the room. And I listened to their questions for an hour and 45 minutes. But mostly I kept hearing them ask questions of our staff and then answer before our staff could respond. And I was just sitting there listening to this for an hour and 45, and I heard them say, from their perspective, Lee Summit has all the revenues in the world, so they can hire all the employees they need. Yet I heard them explain how their city spends a lot of time, resources, and money on things I would never support as a mayor or council member. Additionally, their sales tax rate is that's my mom. She did this to me last year. Mom, you did this to me last year. She's blaming it on my brother's daughter. My niece, her granddaughter. Okay, Mom, please. All right, let me try. I have a story about your son that I'm telling, and all right, so they were spending money on things I would never support as mayor. I wouldn't have. And additionally, their sales tax revenue is way higher than our sales tax revenue, and we got a high sales tax rate. And their assessments on their property is the same as ours. I know, I'm in real estate. So per capita, we have similar revenues. I listened to them complain about not being able to compete with other cities to bring jobs and businesses. And I was like, I remember those days, but we flipped the script on that 5 years ago. We complained for decades about not bringing businesses and employment here. But we've changed that and we got into the business and job attraction game. They complained about the investors that they did have in their community and then complained more about the tenants. And I swear to you, I think they thought the secret recipe to success was in some administrative process that Mark Dunning was going to share with them. Yet they never asked Mark and staff the right questions, which would have been about planning, building consensus, relationships, and culture. Mark Dunning is a culture guy, okay? And I'm right there with him. They never paused to ask open-ended questions to hear our perspective. And I think that city has all the tools, that peer city has all the tools to be successful in economic development. But in my opinion, they currently don't have the right perspective. In an hour and 45 minutes, they didn't ask me a single question. I went to that meeting willing to share, but they didn't want my perspective. Yes, Mark Dunning and city staff are the experts. They handle all the operations, but the city council has to do our part or we all fail. Anyway, I cordially left the meeting, and with all the politeness I could muster, I called the chamber president, Matt Baird, and asked him to reimburse me for the last hour 45 minutes of my life. So, all right, enough on my family. I would like to share with you today what I think are the secret ingredients in this recipe, or the ingredients in this secret recipe for making Lee Summit successful. You just need to be able to look through a lens with a broad perspective. We have seen some amazing growth and some very successful activity centers or activity hubs over the years. Summit Woods, for example, was approved in the year 2000. Summit Woods is a 95-acre development with over 30 retail businesses, including Lowe's, Best Buy, TJ Maxx, Kohl's, Crumble Cookies, and I don't know if you've seen that recent edition of the Total Wine, but that's pretty cool. This has been one of the most successful activity centers in our community. Summit Fair is right next to it, a 58-acre development that followed in 2006, adding lifestyle and experiential retail and and lots of fine dining or good dining. I say fine dining, I mean very delicious dining. Chick-fil-A, The Shack, McAllister's Deli. Recently, this couple years ago, the Furniture Mall of Missouri moved in. Right next to these is Streets of West Pryor. That came in 2019 with 73 acres. And that put icing on the cake. I mean, in the heart of the city with another 9 restaurants like Firebirds, First Watch, Shake Shack. Their restaurant additions this year will be 30 Hop, Nick the Greek, and Magic Noodle. These areas comprise an activity center that is a combined 226 acres, and that does not even include the Summit Orchard development where you have on Chipman that has Aldi's, Home Goods, Ross, and Cooper's Hawk. We also approved 2 new dealerships, car dealerships, in that activity center, and they are also bringing forth Woodbridge Suites that will be coming to council. All these retail options are pretty amazing, given we also have the most charming and wonderful downtown Lee Summit just a couple miles away, with boutique shopping and delightful dining, over 100 businesses, with the Downtown Main Street organization reporting that annual sales in the downtown, look at that graphic, have gone from 28 million in 2016 to 61 million in 2023, more than doubling in 8 years. And so hopefully, yeah. Hopefully it makes sense from anyone's perspective that we're reinvesting in the downtown, in the farmers market, performance venues, so we can keep it thriving. This is a tremendous amount, all of this is a tremendous amount of commercial in the heart of our city. But just keep in mind how large of a city Lee Summit is. In fact, we are the 6th largest city by geographic area out of 1,200 cities in Missouri. With 106,000 citizens, we are also 6th in population. Here's another perspective. I too grew up in a small rural town, around 9,000 people, Clinton, Missouri. Clinton is still around 9,000 people, just it was 40 years ago. And Hillary and I moved to Lee Summit in 1997. And it would take 12 Clintons to equal the size of Lee Summit. So when I say that, I wonder if you know that there are actually dozens of really good restaurants to eat at in Clinton, and quite a few places to get a good burger or sandwich. So if Clinton has dozens of restaurants, how many restaurants does Lee Summit need with 10 times the population, with hundreds of thousands of vehicles driving to or through Lee Summit daily, with an additional couple thousand people moving to Lee Summit each year? I mean, it's a lot to think about when you think about it. And when you think about Mark Dunning had McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger Boy, Johnny Ray's, and a few more when he was here in 1989 to get a burger. Since then, we've had an additional 75,000 people move to our community. The point of this is this, perspective-wise. If you got Chick-fil-A, a Freddy's, and a Culver's, and they want to open another store in another part of our city, then it's the city's responsibility to make sure that that's an appropriate location with regard to zoning, access, and infrastructure. But it's outside our lane to settle a Freddy's versus Culver's versus Chick-fil-A debate in a community of our size. At this point, the south side of Lee Summit would probably be happy with one or more of these options. And I want to point out that as we're having discussions, which I'm sure most of you don't watch our council meetings, but a lot of times Mayor Pro Tem Bethel Lopez will remind everyone that our role as council is to make sure a development or business is in alignment with our comprehensive plan. But we have to allow the market to determine what businesses or developers invest in Lee Summit. With the tremendous growth in population, we have smaller activity centers or neighborhood centers throughout the city that have been popping up. Griffin Riley has been putting in mixed-use developments at 50 Highway in Blackwell, as well as at Pryor and 150. Mixed use typically means some commercial, usually retail or office, mixed with residential components. The residential can be single family or multifamily or both. Mixed use developments have been proposed often to the city in recent years, the last few years especially, because developers are trying to match up both their commercial and residential components with demand. They're also trying to make sure their developments are profitable given inflation, rising labor costs, and continued increase in land prices. These mixed-use developments have not always been the way things developed in Lee Summit. We do have smaller commercial neighborhood centers alongside residential developments throughout the community that were built decades ago, but have made significant improvements in recent years to keep our city looking like a wonderful place to live. I especially appreciate in the last 6 years, our once rather tired and dated 50 highway corridor has had considerable improvements made at Pine Tree Plaza, where Harbor Freight and Planet Fitness are. South Side Plaza, think Jumping Catfish, that area. Cedar Creek Shopping Center, where Westlake Hardware resides, as well as more recently on 291 Highway, where Ballet Vista is, where IHOP and Five Guys would be. And then soon improvements are even going to be made at Bayberry Crossing, where Bella's and Malley Thai are located. Another amazing addition to the 50 highway corridor are the improvements that are going to be made at 291 and 50 Highway, where the new bridge and realignment of the outer roads, where Quick Trip is in the Highway Patrol. A new Highway Patrol is being built off Colburn Road as we speak. And once the move is made, construction will begin. Quick Trips will build a much larger location. It's one of the top Quick Trips in the metro. And there will be a retail pad site where the Highway Patrol resided. That is a $45 million development that took 5 governmental jurisdictions partnering to make it happen for the good of the community. So a huge thank you to LSR 7, the school district, the Highway Patrol, MoDOT, legislators at the state, the governor, and even Quick Trip for being great partners in that joint venture. That's a big deal. Steve Arbo headed that one up a few years back, so yeah. Thank you. We are currently, or highly anticipating the ribbon cutting at Discovery Park. This is where Colburn is. You saw some of it in the video. You heard Bob Yolm-Shipman talk about it. A lot's going on. It's there adjacent to Unity Village. 2 hotels are coming, a Hilton Home 2 and a Marriott Townhome Suites, probably fall of 2025 on those. It's the largest development in Missouri. It will create a Riverwalk-like setting with restaurants, fitness center, retail, and office space, an animal hospital, a pet spa, and luxury apartments. And then just down the road, behind the police headquarters, Scannell is completing the construction of its 3rd high-quality construction building. It is being leased up very quickly. Over 800,000 square feet of industrial specs buildings have been bringing jobs to our community, and some international companies have been moving in there. Our city got in the business years ago, 5 years ago, I say, where we really started focusing on how we're going to get in the business and employment attraction game. And Scannell and numerous other industrial developments have come forward. So you can expect to see more of these on the horizon because we always have to be finding ways to bring people to our community to keep it thriving. So with all these economic development decisions, were they made off the cuff based on personal preferences of city staff or city council? No, we have our personal opinions, past and present council members, planning commissioners. We have our perspectives, but fortunately, we've worked with the city administration and our citizens to make decisions based on the multitude of perspectives in our community. With input from thousands of citizens and stakeholders, the city put together a strategic plan. It took 18 months just a few years ago to get this done. It provides a blueprint for the city administration and the council to follow as far as the priorities of you, the citizens. We followed up the strategic plan with a comprehensive plan to make sure that we were aligned as we continue to grow at a significant clip. This type of planning and purposeful approach to gain insight from all perspectives in the community creates a culture of collaboration. The City Council adopted the strategic plan, and the Planning Commission adopted the comprehensive plan. There's a couple members here today. Thank you too for being here. You are critical to our success. These are our citizen-based blueprints. They're unanimously approved by elected officials and commissioners. And if there is a secret recipe to our success, these plans would be the main ingredients. Out of the strategic plan arose new commissions and boards, such as the Wellness and Cultural Commissions, both of which are taking a comprehensive and holistic approach to physical, mental, and communal health, as well as many facets of culture, including artistic expression, beautification, historic preservation, and regional cultural partnerships. Our citizen committees and boards are critical in providing the City Council and City Administration insight into the perspectives of our community. The strat plan, the strategic plan, prioritized quality of life by means of public safety and infrastructure. We've been trying to follow the plan. We've celebrated ribbon cuttings for 2 new beautiful fire stations, 4 and 5, just this year. We have begun the transformation of the previous fire station number 5, which is on the south side of town, into a substation for the police. The plans for a fire station at the airport are underway, and the Joint Operations Safety Center to house fire administration, police and fire communications, traffic operations, and our emergency operations, all in one location under one roof, is due to break ground in 2025. The Parks and Recreation Department, they have been busy negotiating the location of a new field house in the heart of Lee Summit at the proposed Oldham Village mixed-use development where Odessa Auto Auction was previously located. Parks and Rec will partner with Drake Development, the developer of Streets of West Pryor, for a field house that would provide much-needed gym space, but also will likely bring special events like basketball and volleyball tournaments to our community year-round. Oldham Village will be coming forward in the next few months for approval and will be a mixed-use development, like I said, with restaurants like Q39, Chick-fil-A, and other experiential dining that they won't share with me. I can hope for and guess, but as well as 307 luxury apartments. The development of one of the most blighted areas in all of Lee Summit, also on 50 Highway, is a very welcome and exciting endeavor. So that's a cool, we'll get rid of all the trucks, right? Okay. All right. Paragon Star appears to be close to construction. 470 Highway and the View High interchange improvements. They've got to get that built out on that interchange, and then they'll begin the commercial and multifamily components of the development. But they have been super busy hosting many soccer and athletic events in the last year. So hopefully you've had a chance to go out there and enjoy those activities. Due to a litany of capital projects, our entire city has been congested. I think you probably all know this. Street improvements on Chipman, Colburn, and 2nd Street. It's been pretty wild. Even with all the downtown, it's been a challenge with the downtown being under construction. You know, and we've got more improvements coming. Pryor Road is right around the corner. And then Shearer, which is one of our most dangerous roads. Well, not if you're from Clinton, you don't mind, but no shoulders, skinny road, you know, you gotta pay attention. But Shearer, the design of that's underway. Here's some really phenomenal news. As of last month, you're thinking infrastructure right now. Lee Summit Water Department, water utilities, achieved accreditation. Now, this is a big deal because this means the city of Lee Summit has 5 accredited departments with our police and fire, parks, public works, and now water department. And this is incredible due diligence, hard work, and dedication of resources to these departments to achieve this. So Mark Dunning, staff, thank you all for your efforts, and this is a big source of pride for us. So give me a hand on that one. All right, all these initiatives, projects, developments, and more would be very difficult to approve and execute with excellence without strategic and comprehensive plans guiding our processes and decision-making. The strategic plan and comprehensive plan required tremendous research and data. With thousands of acres still available for development in an amazing city, growth is inevitable. 2 different consultants for the strategic plan and comprehensive plan came back with similar projections for Lee Summit's population growth over the next 20 years, estimating a population of approximately 140,000 citizens by 2040. The question before us was how to handle the growth in the healthiest way. Communities with the best quality of life, with the best, nicest amenities, such as parks, with a strong reputation for public safety, with award-winning schools, they're going to be in high demand. So we established priorities and benchmarks with the strategic and comprehensive plans. These plans give guidance to Suburban Land Reserve. You know Suburban Land Reserve, PRI is what we referred to it before, 4,200 acres of land in our city. Suburban Land Reserve recently put on 1,800 of those acres for sale and development. They have 836 acres on the north side of Lee Summit along 470 and Todd George available, and 1,000 acres in numerous parcels on the southerly portion of our city. I cannot overstate the importance of having the comprehensive plan updated to give Suburban Land Reserve direction when marketing these properties for sale. Suburban Land Reserve has been a great partner with the city with regard to aligning to our values. When you look at the marketing Suburban Land Reserve is utilizing, it reflects the preferences of our comprehensive plan. The north 836 acres, as you look at that, it's on the left, okay? Commercial and residential and industrial. The southerly, on the right, 1,000 acres, includes a tremendous amount of mixed-use developments with single-family homes, some multifamily, and smaller activity centers, commercial activity centers. Regarding the multifamily, you see delineated in each development. Let's just address this in a very transparent way. First, our strategic plan calls for more housing options and policies to diversify housing choices. Our comprehensive plan established benchmarks as to how we want this community to grow, including the composition of density for our home dwellings with a desired healthy balance of 65% single family and 35% all other housing types. Other housing types, that would be mid-density and multifamily. At this point in time, we are currently at 71% single family and 29% other housing types. We are well within our range of healthy economic balance residentially. The percentages will fluctuate continually, so we as council members, as city staff, we have to be mindful and monitor the ratios given the incredible demand from developers. These percentages were established based on research to achieve strong financial sustainability. Here is a comparison to nearby suburban cities showing their composition ratios. Okay? We have, you see Lee Summit, 71% single family, 29% other. When you look at the data for some peer cities, you're looking at data that has been verified within the last, by these cities recently. Can you move my teleprompter forward, please? Yeah, there we go. These are cities that, the reason I chose these, I asked for these to be shown, as I feel that these are cities that we continually hear about when it comes to competing with them for things to do for families, for restaurants to try, parks to experience. From my perspective, we compete with these cities when it comes to quality jobs, businesses, investors and developers, tourism, and more. We share remarkable similar density, as you can see, to Olathe. However, Overland Park and Lenexa are at considerably higher density with other housing types, including multifamily components, at 42 and 44% compared to our 29%. They're comprised of 56 or 58% respectively for single family compared to our 71%. It is not our goal to be like Overland Park or Lenexa. The benchmark of 65% single family is what we set to sustain a desired healthy economy for Lee Summit. With the inevitable growth ahead of us, we are currently below our benchmarks, which you would think would give elected officials the discretion to move forward in good faith with desirable mixed use or housing developments, even if they involve multifamily. I do acknowledge there are people who don't like multifamily, especially apartments. That is their perspective. and their perception is we have too many. The situation is, however, we're in alignment. We actually are a little under our benchmarks. And to stay in the ratio, we would need to approve 2 single-family homes for every multifamily unit. Going forward, we need to be mindful of our benchmarks. We need to stay close to those ratios. But that does not mean we should deny every multifamily development that comes before the city. Let's look again at what Suburban Land Reserve is proposing. Here's the southerly 1,000 acres. It is not coincidence that they have about 2/3 single family, 1/3 multifamily in their residential components. It's not by chance, but by planning. Citizens may voice their concerns, but as a city and council, we need to honor the plans that we just put in place, plans we collaborated on as a community and city just a few years ago. Not following the strategic and comprehensive plans would disrespect the process and ultimately tarnish Lee Summit's reputation for being an economic development role model. And I can only imagine what message it would send to Suburban Land Reserve, who just spent the last 4 years to be in alignment with our comprehensive plan. I'm gonna say a little bit more. As far as the inappropriate comments that I see on social media and I'm hearing in the community about renters and rental communities in Lee Summit, I recommend people do their own research. The ratios and benchmarks we established were recommended by experts in city planning, but you can do a Google search. You can see that 65% of Americans own their home and 35% are renters. Yeah, those are the benchmarks we want. To my cherished realtor friends and allies, I am sorry, but there is a lot of data showing renting has become more affordable than buying a home. And there are a host of articles, making the comparison with some showing that it is 38% more expensive to buy than rent. Listen, my wife and I are realtors. We are home ownership advocates, and I believe in the long-term benefits of home ownership. But please understand that I'm also the mayor of Lee Summit, and when someone speaks poorly about renters, they're speaking poorly about 1/3 of the constituency of Lee Summit. They're speaking poorly about some of your and my friends and family members. Some people don't want to buy a home because the prices of homes are at an all-time high. Some choose to rent by choice. Some choose to rent because of their financial situation. There are plenty of reasons for renting, but what all these people deserve is to not be vilified or looked down upon where they live, because of where they live and how they pay for a roof over their head. I don't see, this is gonna really throw you, I don't see the same disparaging comments about all the businesses that rent in our community. After all, if you like all the businesses I named in the developments today, you must like renters, because almost every business I referenced in the developments earlier, in this speech, is a tenant. They don't own the building they operate in. The developers and investors are the landlords. So here we go. Lowe's, Best Buy, TJ Maxx, Kohl's, Crumble Cookies, and Total Wine are renters. Chick-fil-A, The Shack, McAllister's Deli, Firebirds, First Watch, Shake Shack, 30 Hop, Nick the Greek, Magic Noodle, Aldi's, Home Goods, Ross, Cooper's Hawk, all lease. Q39 is going to be a tenant. The businesses in Pine Tree Plaza, Southside Plaza, Cedar Creek Shopping Center, Valley Vista Bayberry, and all the manufacturing and distribution companies in Scannell industrial buildings. And here we go, the majority of businesses in the downtown of Lee Summit are tenants. So you see, we have to have a diversity of leasing or rental options because it's an integral component in having a healthy economy in any city. You could even say that it's another key ingredient in our recipe for success. You can't have all these businesses or all these people without a multitude of leasing options. A small business owner cannot afford an entire building any more than 50% of our citizens can't afford the average price home the average price of a home in Lee Summit. You know what the average price of a home in Lee Summit is over the last 12 months? It's gonna scare you. $425 per Redfin. I did my own research because I'm really good at that. and I found it to be $431,000. But let's go with Redfin's $425,000. That's a monthly mortgage, taxes, and insurance payment of $3,000 a month. That's if you put 20% down. 20% plus closing costs would be $90,000. So $90,000 down and $3,000 a month for the average price of a home in Lee Summit. So maybe you can see why statistically leasing is considered more affordable than buying right now, and I'm afraid it's going to be this way for a little while, at least a few years before this balances back out. Another perspective I would like to acknowledge is that some people believe townhomes or duplexes is better than apartments, while others have the perspective that apartments with luxury amenities such as a gym, recreation room, resort-like pool, community kitchen, and club area is more desirable. I don't know. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do either. I have to have a German Shepherd in my life. So if I had to rent, I'd be renting a house with a fence. And I have had to rent before. So I know the feeling. But just as there are a diversity of homes to buy in our city, there needs to be a diversity of options for renting. And there are a lot of details that go into the pros and the cons of which type of multifamily or rental community is best. But the point I want to make today is that it's a matter of perspective. And if you want to change the city's direction and perspective, it requires getting a consensus of all the people through processes called a strategic plan and a comprehensive plan. That's how you make change, by collaborating with a multitude of other people's perspectives. And it's our job as elected officials to stay the course and stay on track until that changes. So that means we need to be mindful of our residential ratios at all times when we consider these developments. But the guiding data we need to use is going to be based on research and the data our staff provides, not on the number of comments on a social media post or the number of emails one council member receives. We also need to listen to all citizens and mitigate for their concerns by holding these developers and builders to the highest standards that we possibly can. That's how we got here today. We got our excellent reputation by facilitating healthy and balanced economic developments by being tough, but by being fair and consistent. Following our plan provides the stability and consistency our citizens, stakeholders, businesses, and potential investors and developers desire. Following our plan reinforces our positive reputation as a city. 1 second, please. With all the amazing restaurants, businesses, jobs, and commercial activity centers we've been approving, supporting, and investing in the last 6 years, the City Council and city do have a strong standing in the metro with a healthy economy and a balance of residential and commercial tax base. The recent meeting with the peer city is an example of others wanting to emulate what we're doing. I just shared the importance of planning for the city and for the council. Remarkably, we have built and we are attracting in Lee Summit the last couple of years, despite the inflation, labor shortages, and interest rates. We're very fortunate. But yes, there is more to the recipe. For example, I just outlined how we're improving most of our older commercial centers with deferred maintenance and are basically remodeling our 50 highway corridor. And we're sustaining an incredible demand for housing in Lee Summit, including single-family homes. I think the second main ingredient in the recipe is that we have tools that we are using in the most effective ways. These are not tools I came up with. Our city's been using them for decades. Every single development I've mentioned today has been in some sort of partnership with the city. And most, if not all, of those partnerships include the use of one or more incentive tools. Incentive tools are utilized when a development brings a public improvement to the city. So we're using it to bring public improvements to the city. We have an incentive policy that we follow. And that's our tool as a city and council. Our approach when using incentives has not been overly aggressive. We do not give away all of our tax revenues the city brings in. When a developer asks for too large of an incentive, we say no. We give them the option to choose. 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 We give them the option We push back. Sometimes we deny the request and they don't ever come forward anymore. But we have been consistent in our negotiations and in working with investors of all kinds. All those tired and outdated commercial centers along 50 Highway, they all use CIDs to improve their facades, parking lots, and more. Just like the downtown Lee Summit has a CID that helps maintain the beauty, charm, and cleanliness of our downtown. The amount of the public infrastructure provided or improved by the developments helps the city and the council determine how much we would allow in incentives, such as maybe a portion of their property taxes being abated or redirected. This is a tool for using tax dollars to pay for public improvements. Suburban land reserve properties with thousands of acres, no roads, no sewers, hardly ever is there a point of access for water. Okay? With no infrastructure, the city will need to partner with developers to build out the infrastructure that we need to support residences, businesses, and more. And much of this will occur with the very strategic use of incentives. We document in the greatest of detail all the incentives and the reimbursement rates based on project costs. This is the top sheet of a spreadsheet that goes 100 tabs deep. You can see in the chart the project cost, the incentive tools used, the total of the incentive, and the percentage of the reimbursement based on the total. Generally speaking, we do incentives in the range of 5 to 30% of the total investment. The actual amount of the incentive often is based on what tax revenues a development will bring in, including sales tax, property tax, quality jobs, and also the benefit from other economic multiplier effects that have been quantified by the most reputable economic development organizations in the nation. The more public improvements, such as streets and sewer, the more the incentive can be. But I think any person that's on one of our boards or commissions that help the city administration and city council vet these incentives will tell you that a tremendous amount of work goes into making sure there is a strong return of investment for the city. Again, we're tough, but fair and consistent. And we follow our incentive policies to provide certainty to potential businesses, developers, and investors interested in Lee Summit. The ingredients I have shared today have also been the recipe followed by the downtown farmers market and performance venue. Our strategic and comprehensive plans were the catalysts for reinvesting in our cherished downtown. Leveraging a host of municipal tools is how we have partnered and reinvested. The downtown market and performance venue are a shining example of years and years of planning and collaboration between the city, citizens, city council, downtown Main Street, and the downtown CID, with funding coming from multiple revenue streams, including the downtown CID and a grant from the state. However, I do want you to know that the majority of the $43 million investment that you're looking at is funded from cash that the city has put together over the last 6 years. And I'd say that's pretty amazing given we were struggling to make ends meet and fairly compensate our employees 6 years ago. Construction for the farmers market and performance venue are on schedule, so that means June of 2025. We're 10 months away. I'm very excited. We will be opening the farmers market. It's going to be a magnificent facility and space. We're going to add to the charm and the intimacy of the downtown in a monumental way. And we've begun the selections, this is cool and amazing, for an iconic sculpture that will be at the corner of 3rd and Green. An artist and sculpture will be presented to City Council this coming Tuesday night. A process has been followed. They're going to put it in detail in front of the council, that process. But what we have here is a maple seed sculpture that is gorgeous with bright colors. It's going to be quite the gathering place for photos and more. Many of us grew up calling a maple seed a whirlybird or a helicopter. So the sculpture will bring back childhood memories as well as suitably fit a theme for the farmers market. Additionally, branding for the farmers market and its components have also been vetted. A proposal to brand the overall downtown farmers market as Green Street will be brought to the council with the market identified as Green Street Market. The performance venue under the canopy is proposed to be the Green Street Lawn, And the park-like setting with the wicket garden and the playground and the vestibule, that's going to be Green Street Grove, probably. So over the next 10 months, you're going to see the building go up. I saw the foundation went in, the slab went in yesterday. So you can see the foundation of the farmers market. It's gonna also, they've even started a little bit on the streetscape. You're gonna see the artwork installed. It's gonna be beautiful and gorgeous. And you will not want to miss that ribbon cutting. So plan on June 25 for that celebration. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks. Okay, so you see, the secret to much of our success in Lee Summit comes down to process, due diligence, and planning through a consensus of multitudes of perspectives. And then it comes down to the execution and sticking to the plans. So we have an incredible city staff facilitating that work in accordance with our plans. It just comes down to the city council's effectiveness to hold ourselves accountable to following our processes, policies, and plans to sustain financial viability. The city and city council are one team, but you could see it as a partnership. We cannot be successful if we have only one half of the team doing their job. Thankfully, we've been in good hands with the last few years with talented employees at every level and most city council members appreciating all perspectives by following the strategic and comprehensive plans. I would like you as a community member, investor, stakeholder, to advocate for and encourage the city and city council to stay the course so that we may continue to build our role model reputation as a city and community. I do thank you all so much for your attendance. Thank you for your investments in Lee Summit. And together, let's keep Lee Summit moving forward. Thank you all. Appreciate it.